Anybody been to the booth, cabling booth so far today? Alright, so some of you had a chance to see some of the products. But I'm going to talk to you more about the products, and I'm all over the place when I talk, and I like it. I'm a hands-on kind of guy because one of my goals out of this, after we get done talking about this infrastructure product, I want to dispel a couple of myths. I want to try to take that high-end fiber optics out of the expertise list, leave it to us being the experts, and let you guys deploy it and see how easy it is to deploy and manage it yourselves. Second, we're going to show you some copper solutions as well. But we're going to talk a lot about key technologies today, because anytime that you're trying to develop a data center, whether it be from ground up or whether you're doing some moves as, and I'm going to trip with that based on whether we're going to develop some moves as and changes, or we're going to build out or clean up. This product set works that way, or it can clean up what you have existing. But anytime that you're doing any kind of build out, whether you're starting from scratch or whether you think that you're small now, or what, and you have a 5-year, 10-year plan, which you should always consider for infrastructure now, especially with the technology and the speeds that are skyrocketing and the call for footprint sizes out there. You want to make sure that when you put in infrastructure, you're thinking 10, maybe 15 years out. You want to make sure that your infrastructure might be able to go through 2 or 3 different generations of speed increases or data set or data rate increases and things of that sort. Okay. So we're going to go through obviously product sets. We're going to talk about optical size, connectors, and densities. We're going to talk about weight reductions and trunking. We're going to show you how to clean up a lot of your floor space. We're going to talk about all the panels to distribute all this fiber. We're going to talk about how this is really going to reduce overall costs and procuring materials. But what's most important that I really want you guys to get out of this is these last particular lines, because we need, especially in this day and age, to start thinking about, again, the electronics and what we're trying to accomplish. I'm talking to you a little bit about the electronics, and we won't get that technical about it. There's a real increase in the speeds that are out there, and unfortunately, in the fiber world, there are limitations when you start increasing these speeds, and these are things that you have to be concerned about. A couple phone calls a week that we get inside CXtec is people that are running maybe 1 gig and they go up to 2 gig or maybe 4 gig, and they start having channel errors all over the place. We have to go in and investigate infrastructure, and it turns out the majority of times it's the cable. Because back in the day when speeds were slow, fiber optics was bulletproof. The wall spludges were very high and things of that sort. And what happens is over time, or as the speeds increase because of the technology, those wall spludges have drastically shrunk. And now the standard out in the industry right now that you can procure from many different companies simply won't work or be able to let you accomplish what we're trying to accomplish as far as building out a data center to handle those adjustments as we move forward. Okay? So we'll start out by saying, what are some of your problems that you're having in your data centers right now? And this could be, again, we're talking about a very small data center or a very large data center. Anybody have a problem with floor space, airflow, cable tangles, cable messes, things of that sort? Okay. Well, believe it or not, it's more the norm than the exception out there in the data center. I've been to a lot of them, and the typical scenario for topology that people use is basically, hey, I get machines in, I plug them in. And when I get more machines in, I just run some cables and I plug them in. And then when you start adding switches and then some storage and things of this sort, things start getting crossed up. And then over time, it becomes a pretty tangled mess underneath the floor. So in fact, that it becomes almost impossible to trace cables or even bother tracing cables. So what usually happens is, we unplug them or cut them and just drop them underneath the floor. So that just continues to grow until we reach a point where we have bad airflows and we start having channel errors regardless of whether it's copper or fiber underneath the floors. Everybody agree? And then obviously you see what happens when we start moving forward. Okay. Just some examples of some floors we've seen over the years. Okay. Now, as we start talking about the technology, you'll start seeing what I'm referring to, because back in the slower speed days, especially with fiber, okay, these kind of things were right. Anytime you put stress on any kind of fiber, you're usually creating micro bends or some kind of stress. If anybody's ever tested fiber, anybody ever test fiber? Okay, on just a regular power meter? Okay. You know that you guys can plug these cables in, you get a DVD pulse reading, okay? And you can just grab the fiber and go like this, and you can see that meter jump all over the place, correct? Okay. Well, that's exactly what occurs when you start developing these things underneath the floor. What happens is anytime you put pressure or stress or anything else, those losses will start jumping all over the place, to the point where, again, when the speeds start going up, those losses start becoming unacceptable, and that's when you start experiencing problems. Okay? So again, regardless of copper or fiber, underneath the floor, going over top of cables, things of this sort, it starts becoming a mess out there. Okay? This is the famous picture I show every year, the Great Orange Wall. Okay? Now, great for us as an infrastructure company because we go in here and, there's no way to fix this really. That's gone. So we come in with cutters and have to redo everything. But again, this is what happens over time. Even if you think that, okay, now, we can just do this now, believe me, it grows a lot, and you guys probably know this, it grows a lot faster and a lot more out of control than people might think. So again, when you think about building out infrastructure, think 5 years out, think 10 years out. Even though some of us switch jobs a lot in the technology industry, that's what we should be thinking about. All right, so we don't really have to go through the bullet point list of what this does for you or doesn't do for you, but again, what we're focused here on building infrastructure is we want to change the mindset where a lot of it is right now, as far as when you build out this particular networking or data center environment. We want to take that cabling that most of you probably looked at as an expense and as a last-minute item, and we want to turn it into a value or return on investment and make it an asset for your company. It's amazing to me, still in this day, that, we spend, I'm not quite sure the exact percentages, but probably 80% more dollars, 90% more dollars on the actual machines, and the data that runs through those machines is worth that much more money, and very little money on infrastructure. And it's usually last minute thing, hey, I got to connect this 6500 today, and I need 82 cables, and hey, can you ship them overnight for Saturday morning delivery? And that's what usually happens all over. When we develop the system, we'll show you how to develop the system. We'll show you how easy it is to implement this and build out very, very quickly when we do these things. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to address the things that might address problems. We're going to create a central patch environment or an MDA system. And it can be a full system, it can be a half system depending on the scalability, but you'll see how the system works. We're going to move to specific type trunking, because what we want to do is we want to save your space underneath the floor overhead. Anybody against this? I can save them 2/3 of the space underneath the floor? Anybody? Okay. And then we're going to address the key areas of everything involved. I'm sure everybody's heard of structured cabling, your horizontal cabling, main distribution area, right? Does anybody not? Okay. The system is actually very simple. Okay. This is a generic scenario of everything. Your CPL or MDA, advanced distribution area, or central patching location. What we like to do, and what we recommend, is that these can be any type of machines, any type of switches, any type of servers. Okay? What we like to do is we like to trunk out, whether it be copper or fiber, out to our active units. We like to bring them back into a mass distribution area. What that does for us is one of two things. One, it establishes the paths underneath the floor, and then once we cable up, we close those active doors and we stay away from the active machines. So we don't risk those going down when we're messing with them. We bring these back to a passive environment where we can manage them above the floor. Okay? Same with here. So the theory is very simple. If I need a port connected over here to a port connected over here, as opposed to picking up the floor tiles and going back overhead and running a jumper cable over to here, what I do is now I run a simple jumper cable in that patching environment, sort of like this type of environment in this rack that we're looking at right here. It's a lot easier to manage it above the floor, and we can stop, 1-foot jumpers or 2-foot jumpers on the shelf. That's all we'll ever need. When we want to add something, whether it be a switch, a server, a SAN, whatever it might be, all we're doing is we're adding it down here. Okay, we trunk out to it, so again, we're away from anything active, bring it back into the passive environment, and again, interconnect it at the central patching location.